Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Scha Om Jnana Timranda Sha Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurkam Gurganana Sisha Sambhusitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govindabidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwakarun Shah Divyad Bhagavat Prem Navi Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanam Suchandavanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Sarasatanam Baram Banditam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyashishvara Sridharam Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 1, the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And just recounting a little bit what we were reading yesterday, that Mahaprabhu, when he's, Mahaprabhu recited a verse when dancing in front of Lord Jagannath during the Rathayatra. Almost no one could understand the meaning of that verse. And it's Yokumara Hara Sa Eva Ivaras Ta Eva Chaitra Chapas Te Chonmilitam Malati Surabaya Prodat Kadambanila Sachaivashmi Tatapi Tatra Surata Vyapara Lila Vido Reva Rodasi Vedasi Taru Tale Cheta Samutkantate. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vedasi tree. That is my desire. So that verse appears to be the longing of a woman remembering her lover that she knew during her youth, and how she wishes, now it's in later years, and she's recalling that and wishing to be with him in this particular mention. It's by the bank of the Reva under the Vedasi tree, but no one could understand exactly why Mahaprabhu is singing this song, which, as I said, from the feminine point of view. So, we'll start with verse 64. Mahaprabhu Jagannather Upalabhoga Dekiya Nijagrihe Jana E Tinere Milia. Every day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to see the Upalabhoga ceremony at the temple of Jagannath. And after seeing this, he used to go visit these three great personalities on his way to his own residence. And those three great personalities are Haridas Thakur, Rupa Goswami, or Sanatan Goswami. Now, they wouldn't all necessarily be there at the same time, but they didn't go. Those three persons, they didn't go into the Jagannath temple because they all had some connection with the Muslim. Haridas Thakur was born a Muslim, and Rupa and Sanatan worked for the Muslim government. So they consider them outside of society in the sense, thinking of themselves as untouchables. So, but that's just their own mental considerations, not but they two, it's mentioned here. To avoid turmoil, three great personalities, Haridas Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Sanatan Goswami, did not enter the temple of Jagannath. 18 Madhye Jabe Take Jai Jan Tare Ase Apane Mile Prabhuraniyam. If one of these three was not present, he would meet the others. That was his regular practice. Davyashe Prabhu Jabe Urdvete Chahila Chale Gunja Talabatre Se Shloka Paila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the residence of Srila Rupa Goswami, he accidentally saw the palm leaf on the roof, and thus he read the verse composed by him. So that verse composed by Rupa Goswami is a parallel verse to what the verse that I mentioned, that people could not understand why Mahaprabhu was reciting that verse during the Rathayatra. Shloka Pariyache Prabhu Avishtahoya Rupa Gosaya Shepade Dandavadhaya. After reading the verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went into an ecstatic mood. While he was in that state, Srila Rupa Goswami came and immediately fell down on the floor like a rod. Okay. Utima Prabhu Tare Chapara Maria Kahite Lagila Kichu Kolete Korea. When Rupa Goswami fell down like a rod, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up and gave him a slap. Then, taking him on his lap, he began to speak to him. Okay. Now here, there's the words kolete korea. And every time that kolete comes up, it's translated as taking him on his lap. But as far as I could kind of discern a little bit, kolete korea could also mean taking him in his arms, which would, to me, seem a little more possible, but it could be either way, I guess. But kolete korea, taking him in his arms. But Mora shlokera abhipraya na jane kon jane mora maner kata tumi janile kemone. No one knows the purport of my verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. How could you understand my intention? Mahaprabhu said, nobody knows what I'm saying, this verse, and which I say during Rathayatra, but how could you understand it? Eta boli tare baha prashada korea sarup gosaire shloka dekaila loya. Saying this, Mahaprabhu bestowed various benedictions upon Rupa Goswami, and taking the verse, he later showed it to Swarup Damodar. Sarupe puchena prabhu hoya bishmite moramaner kata rupa janila kemate. Having shown the verse to Swarup Damodar with great wonder, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him how Rupa Goswami could understand the intentions of his mind. Swarup ko he jate janila tomaraman tate jane hoy tomar kripara bojan. Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami replied to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if Rupa Goswami can understand your mind and intentions, he must have your Lordship's special benediction. So Mahaprabhu says, how could he understand my heart? How could he know what I'm saying? No one else knows. And then Swarup Damodar says, well, if he knows what's in your heart, it's because you previously already blessed him. You previously already gave him all your benedictions. Prabhu kohe tariyami santushta hoya alingana koila sarva shakti sanchariya. The Lord said, I was so pleased with Rupa Goswami that I embraced him and bestowed upon him all necessary potencies for preaching the bhakti cult. Jogyapatra hoy gura rasa vivechane tumyo kahyo tare gura rasakyane. I accept Srila Rupa Goswami is quite fit to understand the confidential mellows of devotional service, and I recommend that you explain devotional service to him further. I'm telling Swarup Damodar, you understand, and you also talk and explain things to Rupa Goswami. Okay. Esab kohiba age vistara koriya sankepe udesha koila prashtaba paya. I shall describe all these incidents elaborately later on. Now I have given only a brief reference. Priyo soyam Krishna sahachari kuru ketra militas tatahamsa rara tadidam Ubayo Sangama Sukam Tatapi Antakelan Mathura Murali Panchamajushe Manome Kalindi Pulina Vipinaya Spriyayati. So this is the verse that Rupa Goswami composed. It's the parallel verse. This is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on the bank of on this field of Kurukshetra. I'm the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together is very pleasant, but still I would like to go to the bank of the Jamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So that's the verse what Rupa Goswami composed, and it explains or gives the gist of what Mahaprabhu is saying during the Rathayatra that nobody can understand. This is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse. I'm the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still I would like to go to the bank of the Jamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. Eshlokara sanke parta shuna bhaktagan Jagannath Deki Jaiche Prabhura Bhavan. Now, O devotees, please hear a brief description of this verse. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is thinking in this way after having seen the Jagannath deity. Shri Radhika Kuruketre Krishnera Darshan Jajapi Payena Tabu Bhavena Aichan. The subject of his thoughts was Srimati Radharani, who met Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. Although she met Krishna there, she was nonetheless thinking of him in the following way. Rajavesh Hati Goda Manushya Gahan Kahan Gopavesh Kahan Nirjana Vrindavan. She thought of him in the calm and quiet atmosphere of Vrindavan, dressed as a cowherd boy. But at Kurukshetra he was in a royal dress and was accompanied by elephants, horses, and crowds of men. Thus the atmosphere was not congenial for their meeting. So he's dressed in royal dress with elephants, horses. It's a whole different atmosphere than Vrindavan. Plus the fact that he's there with many queens. Say Baba, say Krishna, say Vrindavan, Jabe Pai, Tabe Hoy, Banchita Puran. Thus, meeting with Krishna and thinking of the Vrindavan atmosphere, Radharani longed for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again to fulfill her desire in that calm atmosphere. Because after Krishna left, he never came back to Vrindavan. And Radharani And all the residents of Vrindavan are serving Krishna in separation. Their whole mood is that of separation. And they don't meet with Krishna again. They're still serving. They're serving in separation. That's the mood of Mahaprabhu, service and separation. But the one time when they did meet with Krishna was at Kurukshetra during the time of the solar eclipse. I think it was like maybe 125 years or something after he left or something, a long time. And when he came there, when all the residents of Vrindavan went there and they met with Krishna, and they could say, well then, weren't they all old? No, this is timeless. Krishna never ages. Krishna is always a youth in appearance, and the residents of Vrindavan, they will have that quality also. Okay. But the whole situation was not congenial, it was still separation. It was not meeting, it was separation. It's like Srila Guru Maharaj explained it. Like in a game of football, the ball comes so close to the goal, but it doesn't cross, and then it goes back. And it's considered like that's more of a, you could say, more difficult than never even coming close. So, thus meeting with Krishna and thinking of the Vrindavan atmosphere, Radharani longed for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again to fulfill her desire in that calm atmosphere. Ahus chate nalinanaba padaravindam yogeshwarar ridi vichintyam agarabodai samsara kupa patitot taran avalambam geham jushamapi manasi uriyat sadana. The gopis spoke thus, Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter of those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that those lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. So, I don't need to belabor this point, but obviously this is the first chapter of Madhya-lila, and it's giving us some idea of what's going to follow. It's the pastimes of the Madhya-lila and then also of the Antya-lila. They're described here at the beginning.
Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki
Jai. Those pastimes will be described in the form of verses, giving you an idea. And I also said, because, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's also an older person, so what he can finish and what he can't finish, that's not necessarily known to him. So he's giving the reader an idea of what will come in the Madhya-lila and Antya-lila, and he says he'll fill that in later, and he does. But he's not sure what he's going to be able to present, so he's giving you a synopsis of what's to follow.
This part is still that synopsis?
Huh?
This part is still that synopsis?
Yeah, chapter's called The Later Pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And it gives it Mahaprabhu's, because, really it's the Madhya-lila and the Antya-lila that the devotees are asking in particular that Krishnadas Kaviraj present. Those pastimes were not so filled in by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, but the devotees want Krishnadas Kaviraj to give this, and he's starting by say what will follow. But obviously, one thing we can gather from what we're hearing, this first chapter, the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, this is all very, I would say, very, very high or elevated things. This is, you know, this is counted as one of the chapters, which is, you know, presenting some very advanced Leela of the Lord, not something that's openly understood by everyone. So the gopis are praying to Krishna. We wish that those lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. We're not elevated yogis or mystics or anything. We're just ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. We want to have always you present within our hearts. Tomara charanamora braja puragare udaya koraye jari tabe bansha pure. The gopis thought, dear Lord, if your lotus feet again come to our home in Vrindavan, our desires will be fulfilled. Bhagavater Shloka Gurarta Bishara Karanya Rupa Gosai Shloka Koila Loka Bujaya. In one verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has explained the confidential meaning of the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam for the understanding of the general populace. Yate lila rasa parimala malodgari vanya parita danya shoni vilasati rita maturi madhuribi tatras mabis chatala pashupi baba mudgantarabi samvitas tvam Kalaya Varano Lasi Venor Viharam. The gopis continued, dear Krishna, the fragrance of the mellows of your pastimes is spread throughout the forest of the glorious land of Vrindavan, which is surrounded by the sweetness of the district of Mathura. In the congenial atmosphere of that wonderful land, you may enjoy your pastimes with your flute dancing on your lips and surrounded by us, the gopis, whose hearts are always enchanted by unpredictable ecstatic emotions. E mata Mahaprabhu deke Jagannathe, Subhadra Sahita deke Vamshina hate. In this way, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath, he saw that the Lord was with his sister Subhadra and was not holding a flute in his hand. Because we also understand, Subhadra never entered. Subhadra was never in Vrindavan. Subhadra was in Dwarka, but she was not in Vrindavan. So, and Mahaprabhu was seeing Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So Subhadra's there. Then also we understand the feeling that Mahaprabhu has when the deities, Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, are going from the Nilachala temple, which is the Puri temple, to the Gundicha temple, which is Sundarachala. And it's like going from Dwarka to Vrindavan. The temple of Gundicha is associated with Vrindavan. So this is Mahaprabhu's sentiment during that Rathayatra parade. It's very deep. I mean, to have this kind of feeling, and he's expressing that while the Rathayatra is going on. Of course, he's dancing and singing and everything, but he has this internal feeling of his heart. Tribanga Sundara Braje Brajendra Nandan Kahan Baba E Bansha Boryanukan. Absorbed in the ecstasy of the gopis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wished to see Lord Jagannath in his original form as Krishna, the son of Nandamar, standing in Vrindavan and appearing very beautiful, his body curved in 3 places. His desire to see that form was always increasing. Radhikon Madhajaiche Udavadarshane Udgorna Pralapa Taiche Prabhuda Ratridine. Just as Srimati Radharani talked inconsistently with a bumblebee, in the presence of Uddhava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his ecstasy talked crazily and inconsistently day and night. Dvarasha Vatsara Sesha Aiche Gonaila Emata Sesha Lila Tri Vidane Koila. The last 12 years of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were passed in this transcendental craziness. Thus he executed his last pastimes in 3 ways. Sannyas Kori Chabisha Vatsara Koila Jai Karma Ananta Paratara Jai Janibe Marma. For the 24 years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order, whatever pastimes he executed were unlimited and unfathomable. Who can understand the purport of such pastimes? Udesha Korite Kore Digdarshan Mukhya Mukhya Lilara Kore Sutraganan. Just to indicate those pastimes, I am presenting a general survey of the chief pastimes in the form of synopsis, of a synopsis. And what is a synopsis? The word that's given for synopsis here is sutra. Sutra. And so in English we'll say synopsis, a resume, giving the thing in gist. But how this conclusions are being expressed, they're being expressed in the form of sutras, and sutra means a verse. They're being expressed as poetic verses. So, Pratama Sutra Prabhura Sannyas Karanya Sannyas Kore Chalila Prabhu Shri Vrindavana. This is the first synopsis. After accepting the sannyas order, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded toward Vrindavan. Premite viva labhaya nahika smaran radadeshe tindin korila brahman. So that was Mahaprabhu's intention after he took sannyas in Katwa from Keshavarti. He was desiring to go to Vrindavan. So for 3 days he's wandering. Premite viva labhaya nahika smaran radadeshe tindin korila brahman. When proceeding toward Vrindavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed with ecstatic love for Krishna, and he lost all remembrance of the external world. In this way, he traveled continuously for 3 days in Radhadesha, the country where the Ganges River does not flow. And I believe that's going further west. Where, as far as I can tell, where Hapania is, where Bamanpar, that's part of Radhadesh. So, Nityananda Prabhu Mahaprabhu Bulaya Gangatire Loya Aila Jamuna Bolia. First of all, Lord Chaitanya bewildered. Nityananda Prabhu Mahaprabhu Bulaya Gangatire Loya Aila Jamuna Bolia. First of all, Lord Nityananda bewildered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by bringing him along the banks of the Ganges, saying that was the river Jamuna. So Mahaprabhu thought he's going to Vrindavan, but his whole wandering, to a certain extent, is he doesn't know where he is, but his wandering and he's being led in the sense of he's being secretly manipulated by the tricks of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu has arranged all this with the consent of the cowherd boys who are near the Ganga. So, first of all, Lord Nityananda bewildered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by bringing him along the banks of the Ganges, saying that it was the river Jamuna. Shantipure Acharjara Grihe Agaman Pratama Bika Koila Tahan Ratre Sankirtan. After 3 days, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the house of Advaitacharya at Shantipur and accepted alms there. Alms means he ate. He'd been fasting for 3 days. Now he's able to take something to eat at the house of Advaitacharya. This was his first acceptance of alms, of food. At night he performed congregational chanting there. In the night he had Sankirtan. During the day he was taking the offerings of Advaita Acharya and the devotees. He is taking them with the devotees as a very nice festival at the house of Advaita Acharya Mahaprabhu. 3 days wandering and not eating, and then he comes to Advaita Acharya's house, and all the devotees come there. They all been invited, arranged. It was all arranged by Nityananda Prabhu, and everyone's happily there with Mahaprabhu. Mata Bhakta Ganer Tahan Korila Milan Sarva Samadhana Kore Koila Niladrigaman. At the house of Advaita Prabhu, he met his mother as well as all the devotees from Mayapur, where he was living. He adjusted everything and then went to Jagannath Puri. So he had been trying to go to Vrindavan, and it's not mentioned, but when Sachi Mata came by Nityananda's Prabhu's arrangement, she told him, I haven't seen since he took sannyas, I haven't seen Vishwarup. He left home and I've never seen him again. So if you go to Vrindavan, the same thing will happen and it will kill me. I cannot take this. So she said, I'm asking you that you don't go to Vrindavan, you go to Jagannath Puri, and there you won't be criticized for living at home, because a sannyasi doesn't stay at home. And at the same time, we'll always have news of you because people from Bengal are always going to Jagannath Puri, it's a neighboring state, and they come back and we'll always hear about you, and that will be better. So Mahaprabhu agreed to circumambulate his mother and then went to Puri. Patinana Lila Rasa Devadarshan Madhava Purir Kata Gopalastapan. On the way toward Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu performed many other pastimes. He visited various temples and heard the story about Madhavendra Puri and the installation of Gopal. So all this will all be explained later. But this chapter is a resume. Kirachuri Kata Saki Gopala Vivara Nityananda Koila Prabhur Danda Banjan. From Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the story of Chirachuri Gopinath and of the witness Gopal, of Saki Gopal. 2 stories involving Madhavendra Puri. Then Nityananda Prabhu broke the sannyas rod belonging to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu had accepted sannyas. He had an ekadanda, not a tridanda, a single rod that he'd gotten. But Nityananda Prabhu thought, danda, the word danda means punishment, and normally for the first, at least the beginning, a sannyasi carries a danda with him for, I believe, at least 7 years. But Nityananda Prabhu was thinking, Mahaprabhu doesn't need this. The word danda means punishment that he has to. But Mahaprabhu is already in the Paramahamsa stage or beyond. He doesn't need this danda, so he broke it in pieces and threw it in the river. Kruda hoya eka gela Jagannath dekite dekiya morchita hoya padilabhumite. After his sannyas rod was broken by Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently became very angry and left his company to travel alone to the Jagannath temple. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the Jagannath temple and saw Lord Jagannath, he immediately lost his senses and fell to the floor. He fainted, you could say. But it's also interesting, like, how all this is happening, Mahaprabhu apparently becoming very angry or upset that his sannyas rod was broken, and then Nityananda gave him, Nityananda didn't tell the truth, he gave him a somewhat, you could say, a story that he told him, something, you were falling and I went to catch you and our weight came upon the dunda and broke it. But Mahaprabhu knew this story was complete fabrication. So Mahaprabhu was angry that I'm supposed to carry that dunda, and now you and everyone else always are trying to do something to placate. You see my austerities that I do because of a sannyasi, and you can't accept that, and therefore you always interfere. You will interfere with me. Actually, Mahaprabhu is ascribing good qualities to his devotees, but he says it as if it's criticism. I had this and I had that. I'm doing this as part of my observance of sannyas, and my austerities bother you, and they bother Jagannananda and other devotees. You don't like to see my austerities. You try to, more or less he's saying, you try to baby me, and therefore I find it. Therefore, Mahaprabhu would say, get angry. Sarvabhaumaloya Gela Apana Bhavan Tritiya Prabhare Prabhur Hoila Chaitan. When after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Lord Jagannath in the temple and fell down unconscious, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took him to his home. The Lord remained unconscious until the afternoon, when he finally regained his consciousness. Nityananda, Jagannananda, Damodar Mukunda, Pachayashi, Milita, Sabe, Paila, Ananda. The Lord had left Nityananda's company and had gone alone to the Jagannath temple, but later Nityananda, Jagannananda, Damodar, and Mukunda came to see him, and after seeing him, they were very pleased. Tabe Sarvabhauma Prabhu, Prasada Korila, Apana Ishwara Murti, Tare De Kaila. After this incident, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya by showing him his original form as the Lord. Tabita Korila Prabhu Dakina Gaman Kormaketre Koila Vasudeva Vimochan. After bestowing mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Lord started for southern India. When he came to Kurukshetra, he delivered a person named Vasudeva. Vasudeva was a leper. Mahaprabhu delivered him, took away his leprosy too. So I'm going to stop now because today I have to do some other programs. So I'll be a little brief today, and tomorrow we'll continue. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranaman Giridhari Gopinatha Maranaman Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Chandra Gananana Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivinoda Gananana Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivinoda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhaktiraguna Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhaktiraguna Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raguna Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raguna Echai Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan Echai Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan Jai Te Vignana Shabista Puran Jai Te Vignana Shabista Puran Echai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Echai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Tasamar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Sabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Kadir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Kadir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame More Abhilas Janame More Abhilas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Mata Iyaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Mata Iyaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naradamodas Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naradamodas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Guru Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Guru Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Guru Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhara Jiv Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridharadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jaya Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sananta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishordas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavad Ki Jai. Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Vishwavarenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Tilak Neriha Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shiman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Sri Kuladvip Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju Ki Jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Brahmanande Hare